You have the mic there? You can, I guess you can sit down.
Good afternoon. I was very fortunate to be able to live in Malacanang with my grandfather's family. When we came from Tacloban, I witnessed his very, very sweet, cariñoso grandfather. That is something that is not in history. He was tender and very loving. Not only was he was running for the presidency. However, his love for his country prevailed. My Mama Titay, his wife, Tita Rosie, his daughter, and my mother Mary were pushing him to campaign to be able to win the presidency. But he said, "El país me necesita." His goal was to rehabilitate Manila so that he would do what they did for Japan, what the Americans did for Japan. And that was his character. I will share with you a poem that I learned from my maternal grandmother. And during the war, she taught us a poem that was actually written by Jesus Balmori, the poet and writer. I will say it in Spanish, but my daughter, Melissa, will translate it in English. Would you rather I go by stanza or just Okay. Surges más alto de las densas brumas, y más el pueblo que te venera y quiere, porque eres el mango del hacha que te hiere. En tu sol luminoso no hay ocasos, no hay ni una mancha en tu dorada historia. Triunfo han sido todos tus ocasos, y todas tus heridas son de gloria.
You rise higher from the dense mists, and even more so the people who revere you and love you, because you are the handle of the axe that wounds you. In your luminous sun, there are no sunsets, not a single stain on your glorious history, golden history. Every one of your setbacks has been a triumph, and all your wounds are marked of destiny.
This is the true character. This was the true character of my grandfather. He gave his life for his country. And my father gave his life to his country too. That is the Osmena legacy.
Thank you, Titani. That's the same type of stories I used to receive also from my dad. It was about the delicadeza of Lolo Sergio. So next we have Tita Margot Aranyaga.
Good afternoon, everyone. As a backgrounder, in the household of Lolo Sergio, Spanish was spoken. So I'd like to share with you stories that my mother would tell us. My mother was an intern in the Sanson, and so she would go home during weekends. And then during weekends, like she would cut the fingernails of Lolo Sergio. But then one time, she wasn't able to go out because she was punished. So when she went home, there she was in her usual place, perched on a pillow. That's where she would sit, on the pillow of Lolo Sergio, and then remove the white hair. And then she was about to cut the nails, and she said, "Papa, tienes las uñas muy largas. Your fingernails are so long." And then Lolo Sergio said, "Es que no has salido más. You were not able to go out." He did not say, because you were punished and so on and so forth. No, Lolo Sergio was kind, loving, and always a diplomat. No? He always used the diplomacy. Another occasion, she told me, Lola Tita was then pregnant, so she could not dance. So Mama was assigned to dance with Lolo. So there they were, Lolo and the guest. And then the time came, Lolo, who was a stickler for punctuality, there was no Mama, no Milagros there. And then when she came, so Lolo Sergio was serious looking, and then asked why she was late. No, if you have to be in a place, she was given a sermon of punctuality. And she said, I had a new dress made, and the costurera was so late in bringing it. So there my mama was, the music started, and then Mama was on the verge of tears. And then after they danced, then Lolo said, "Estás muy guapa." So after giving her a lecture, there he was, always the loving father, always with diplomatic words. No? And then we'll talk about me. What was my experience with Lolo Sergio? I remember we would go to the ancestral home there in Jones, the White House. And then every Christmas, and so there we were lining up, the grandchildren, and then Lolo Sergio and Lola Tita were there. So as our names were called, we got our gifts. And then the boys had to sing more or less, and then the girls, there was a time when I had a walking doll, the first one I ever had, a walking doll. So we're so happy. And then another time, well, when we were older na, cash gives na envelopes. I don't remember how much it was. But anyway, it was very nice to see them there every Christmas. And then also, I remember Lolo Sergio would invite him when there was, for example, when I finished in school and there was a medal to be pinned, so he would ask him to go. And he would go. There was one time he was sick, so the one who came were Lola Titay and Senora Eulalia went to accompany that grandmother of Annie. They were there to assist to pin my medal, no? And so every time that we had the report cards out, Mama would go and bring them to Jones to show to Lolo Sergio. When I was very shy when I was young, no, I'm even nervous now. So anyway, I would be there behind Mama. Mama would show my report card. And Lolo Sergio, very serious looking, and very interested in the grades. And so I was there happy and encouraged to do even better. Because there Lolo was appreciating the good grades that I had. So I think that's about it. Lolo Sergio was always diplomatic, con delicadeza, as what we said, and then loving. We don't know that he was a loving father and grandfather. Thank you.
Thank you for that story, Tita Margot. Next to tell us her story is Tita Marisa.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, I always remembered my lolo as a very sweet, very kind, very gentle person. And you know, when we used to spend summers in Cebu, and we really were fortunate because Lolo had this serenity. Everything was serene, you know. He never raised his voice. He and Lola would go to church almost every day. And I remember my daddy used to tell me when Lolo was with the government in exile in Washington, D.C., he would go to church every day from the hotel where he lived. I think they were in exile for about 3.5 years. And Lolo always had this sense of sacrifice for the country. When they had to evacuate Manila because Manila was about to fall, they went to Corridor, and the president's family was intact. He got to bring his whole family. Lolo was by himself. He had to leave Lola and his children behind. And so they boarded a submarine to go to Australia, and from there a boat to Washington, D.C. And Lolo was there alone by himself for 3.5 years. And when he came back to the Philippines, he was really bent, as Annie was saying, on rehabilitating the Philippines. And he was really true to himself. Full of integrity, full of honesty, a true nationalist. It was really God, country, and family. And he did not make any campaign promises that he could not keep. You know, so as an incumbent, it was unusual that he would have lost, but he did. And when he retired to Cebu, he spent his time in Cebu, and I remember the old house in the White House in Jones. They had this resident turkey. I don't know whose turkey that was, but every afternoon we would walk. They would walk, we would bike, and the turkey would run after us. But you know, and then there was also a resident tuko at night. I remember. So our memories of coming to Cebu were the turkey and the tuko and walking with Lolo and Lola, and so we always had meals together, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And because Lola and Lola spoke in Spanish. Their cocinero, their chefy, Maximo, also spoke Spanish. And so he would he would play this xylophone. So wherever you were in the property, you would hear the tone, and you would come for breakfast, lunch, dinner, merienda. And I remember that with Lolo, he was always calm. He never lost his temper. He read the Bible. He was, I do remember that when my father came to Cebu to make pamanhikan, that's like to ask for your fiance's hand. He asked Lolo, may I have Rosie's hand in marriage? And so Lolo said, where are you planning to get married? And he said, well, Mr. President will come to Cebu, we'll get married here. He said, no, I'll come to Manila. So he came to Manila, and he said, he told my mommy, we better march on time because, you know, Lolo was such a punctual person, you know. So I have a picture of Lolo and mommy. And when he came to Manila, it was the first time he came to Manila after he retired. And there were so many, like hundreds of people. In those days, there was a lot of people, hundreds, no? They all lined up the streets to watch him. You know, they knew the grand old man was coming to Manila, so they came to see him. I just wanted to say that Lolo and Lola were so sweet together. They were married over 40 years. They were always holding hands. Look how sweet they were. And Lolo always good looking with his suits. And one last picture. This is his favorite outfit every day, his khakis. You know, so this is us. I think he was 7 or 8 years old. But I think with Lolo, what we can take away is that even though many of us here never had the opportunity to meet him, I think his legacy will live on in us. And his virtues and his traits and the sacrifices that he made for his country, I think, we will carry it with us, and hopefully we will all help to build a better Philippines. So thank you.
Thank you, Tita Mesa. Finally, from Tita Tita.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tita Osmena. I'm the daughter of Ramon Limhap Osmena and Presentacion Serafina Osmena. When my parents initially got married, they stayed in Jones Avenue in the so-called White House. That's where we were born and we grew up. The three of us, Mari, my older brother, myself, and my younger brother, Eddie. My earliest memory of Lolo was I was about 3 or 4 years old because then I was too young to remember anything. And we would be playing in the garden every afternoon, and Lolo would have his chair there to watch us, of course with the yayas. No? And he enjoyed watching us, and he enjoyed seeing children running around. So as our family grew, we moved out of Jones and we had our own house in Tindalo in Lacu. Then we were going to school. I was about maybe 6 or 7. Lolo would, every afternoon, Lolo would pick us up in his Cadillac. He had a 1950 Cadillac, black Cadillac, with a plate number 100. He would pick us up, take us around the city for a paseo every afternoon. And when the traffic enforcer would see us coming, he would change the sign. So then it was just turn those signs, stop and go. And he'd change the stop to go. And Lola would tell the chauffeur, because his driver had a hat, white hat on, long sleeves, white shirt, and white pants. To tell the chauffeur, no. When it stopped, you stop. We follow the rules. He did not want any special treatment at all. So that was how Lolo was. He was very humble. He was a very humble man. Then our last stop of the day was we'd stop in Puente Osmena. He would give us 10 centavos each, the three of us, the three older ones, and we would buy beans. And our choice was nilaga or sinigang, or nilaga or the dried ones, roasted peanuts. They'd come in these black boxes. I don't know what you call them now. And that was our ritual every day for our school days. On weekends, there were times that we would go all the way to Danao to visit his friend, Don Ramon Dorano, who was then building up Danao from reparation funds, I guess. And they would chat. They would chat as construction was going on for the central, for the cement factories. And on the way home, we'd stop by Titay's in Niloan and buy whatever goodies you want. The Cusquillos was then available, but it was not called Cusquillos then. But anyway, that's how we spent our time with Lolo. We always made sure that we had fun with him, and he was very patient with us because we were 3 noisy kids, okay? We were quite noisy. So, aside from that, when every Sunday was a big day for us because it was we had moved back to Jones for lunch, and we'd have Maximo would prepare sumptuous lunch that would include some of their friends like Tita Piling, Tita Sona, Tita Mary, Lola Rainer would always bring Tocino del Cielo. That I remember, so that was yummy. And of course the kids were in separate table because the older ones would be there. And Lolo, I remember he spent almost all his days in his still office reading the books and newspapers. But he would normally have friends or visitors coming in to visit him. I think the most frequent visitor was to Bertine. I remember to being almost there every day, and you even cook for Lolo. And there were prominent national figures like Magsaysay who came to see him. And it was from that visit that he had the plane crash. Then my Garcia, President Garcia. Then I also remember Douglas MacArthur came to see him. We were there with him. We have pictures with MacArthur. So we saw a man who was recognized by both national and international community as a great man. But he remained humble all his life. His sense of humility was something else. Then sometime in 1961, Lolo and Lola went to Manila because Lolo was not feeling too well. After a few weeks, my dad followed. Then we were advised that Lolo had passed away. So with my mother, Mari, myself, and Eddie, we were all flown to Manila for his funeral. We were all there, and in North Cemetery, where he is still presently now, Marisa takes care of the cemetery for us. Then there were so many people that were gathered outside. Not only government officials, but masa. That was full. When the 21 gun salute started, when the gun started firing, then I realized that my grandfather, who I thought was just Lolo Sergio, my grandfather was looked up by many people as not just a great man, but a great hero. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tita. It's unfortunate that many of us were not able to reach him anymore, but I still remember the White House. Remember Mama Titay. Of course, your parents, Uncle Moching and Tita Tasyon. So very fond memories of them. I met Cupertino, I think only once or twice. I was still very young. Of course, Tita Ninita, we used to visit all the time. Tita Vida Green, and Tito Serhing also, because he eventually moved to the U.S. So he passed away in Los Angeles. So I was studying in Northern California, so I was able to visit them in Southern California. So next part we have is the documentation. So we'll be taking pictures per flag, per section. So I guess we start